Welcome to today's Psalm for the day, and today we've got Psalm 120. Let me read it to you. It starts and it's called A Song of Ascents. I call on the Lord in my distress and he answers me. Save me, O Lord, from lying lips, from deceitful tongues. What will he do to you, and what more besides, O deceitful tongue? He will punish you with a warrior's sharp arrows, with burning coals from the broom tree. Woe to me that I dwell in Meshech, that I live among the tents of Kedar. Too long have I lived among those who hate peace. I am a man of peace, but when I speak, they are for war. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. There's something a bit nasty about our social media generation, I think, where people get to say horrible things on Twitter or whatever, things that may be lies even, but there's no sensible response to them. Sometimes even leading politicians seem to say things that are blatantly untrue and then defend them simply by repeating the lie more forcefully. A friend of mine was once targeted, trolled is the phrase, lovely isn't it, by someone who was determined to malign his reputation by spreading untrue comments. It can be devastating. He didn't sleep. He had to keep going over in his head about what had been said, worried that others would believe the lie. And even though he was proved right in the end, it's still he suffered far more than the person who perpetrated the lie. The stress was awful. He's not the only one, though. In the 2016 Statista research survey of teenagers, over 2/3 reported being bullied or trolled on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. So what do? Troll them back? Suffer the abuse and hope for the best? Well, the Bible has a song for it. It's Psalm 120. If you've been following our series, we're starting today this new chunk of psalms called the Songs of Ascent. There are 15 of them, and they fall into 5 groups of 3, each following a similar pattern. The first of the 3 expresses a distress, the second dwells on God's power, and the third on God's security. So this one kicks off with the Psalm of Distress. So what's the psalmist distressed about in this song? The Song of Ascent is probably on the way up to the temple to worship. What is bothering this person? I call on the Lord in my distress, and he answers me. Save me, O Lord, from lying lips and from deceitful tongues. It's about getting trolled. About people creating distress in our lives because of their lies and deceit. And here's the Bible's answer to the problem. Don't suffer in silence. Don't retaliate in kind. Rather, tell God. Tell God and he will answer you, says the psalm. Now, why is that the thing to do? Well, there are 3 reasons here. 3 to take this back to God. The first is this: God will be their judge, so you don't have to be. What will he do to you, verse 3, and more besides, O deceitful tongue? He will punish you with a warrior's sharp arrows, with burning coals from a broom tree. See, if you resort to lies, you'll get payback from God. That's what the psalm says. Warrior's arrows might be figuratively pangs of conscience. And unless you harden your heart, if you lie about others, it will hurt you and hurt you. But if you do harden your heart, and some do get to that place that they think trolling's okay, then burning coals are a classic image of God's judgment. God will see that justice gets done. And that's great, isn't it? Let God defend our reputation. We don't have to pay back people because God will see right is done. God will judge them. That's the first thing. God will be their judge. You don't have to be. And then also, secondly, you don't belong to this world anyway, so don't try to conform to it. Verse 5, woe to me that I dwell in Meshech and that I live among the tents of Kedar. Too long have I lived among those who hate peace. Woe to you that you live in Meshech and Kedar. Incidentally, those are figuratively places of bad reputation, because those 2 towns in reality are not anywhere near to each other at all, so you can't live in both of them. But both of them had bad reputations in the time of the writing of the psalm. So we should be lamenting, says the psalmist, we should be lamenting that we're in this fallen world where people do use lies and deceits to get their point. The point is, if you are a Christian, you're not of this world. Too long have I lived among those who hate peace. The Psalm's telling us not to conform to the pattern of this world, not to feel at home in it, Don't worry if people use lies to discredit you. Don't let it eat away at you, because in the end it doesn't matter what they think. It only matters what God thinks, and he sees the truth. You don't have to defend yourself because God will. So don't make an idol of your reputation in the world's eyes. Don't be bothered about what other people think of you. Be bothered about what God thinks of you and what he sees is true. That's the comfort to us. This world should frustrate us because we're not of this world. We're of God's world, where truth reigns and lies will be no more. So you don't belong to the world, don't try and conform to it. And finally, the last verse says, be a peacemaker and not a warmonger. I'm a man of peace, but when I speak, they are for war. Here's the final advice against trolls from the Bible. Make peace, not war. Make sure that what you say doesn't inflame a situation. And what does peacemaking look like? Well, it might be saying sorry for whatever upset someone, even if it wasn't your fault or intended anyway. You don't have to always defend yourself if God is the one who defends what's true. It might mean not replying to the last thing that was said that was very hurtful. See, trying to have the last word in an argument is more about warmongering than peacemaking. Or it might be paying a compliment to someone who's been insulting you, finding something good to say if you can, because doing good to those who persecute you, who does that? Who does that ever? To say good to the persecutors? Jesus. So that's when you're most like him, when you live the way he did. So here's a psalm if you're getting trolled. Let God judge, not you. Live for God's world, not theirs. Make peace and not war. It's practical. But say it to yourself as you come to worship the God who sees the truth and the God who loves your life. So let me say a quick prayer as we end. God our Father, thank you for the practical help that your word gives us and for the advice of this psalm. And for any of us today who are struggling with lies said against us, give us the faith to hold these words true, to let you be the judge, to live for your world and to make peace where we can. And we ask it for the glory of your name. Amen. Thanks for listening, and tune in again for more Psalms from Cheadle Parish. All the best.